while we're continuing to vote, I'll mention if you're wondering why a group like Lynham River Now that has a goal of clean and healthy Virginia Beach waterways would be concerned with energy efficiency, the answer is it's flooding. In order to help limit the severe storms and higher water levels that are flooding our area and putting increased demand on our stormwater systems, washing tons of pollutants and excess nutrients and sediment into our waterways, we need to reduce our carbon-based fuel usage. To do our part in Virginia, the Virginia Clean Economy Act established a goal of 100% renewable electricity generation by 2050, and energy experts agree that this goal can only be reached if first we become more energy efficient. The fact that energy efficiency can save your business or congregation money is a bonus. So Emily, can we put up some results or should we continue on? Okay, there it's a pretty wide spread of people, a few that are experts and a few that are not, and mostly have a decent amount of knowledge. And then we do have no energy audits. And then some people have used energy efficiency incentives already, which is great to see. Okay, if we could go to the next slide, Emily. So here's today's agenda. Following the introductions, we'll have 3 experts present information on federal and state energy efficiency programs and incentives, and also energy efficiency audits. If you have questions during the presentation, please write them in the question and answer box, and we will try to get to them all in the last 20 minutes of the webinar. We will be recording the webinar and we will make the briefs available to you on our website. Next slide, please. Before I introduce our presenters, I'd like to thank Helen Coons, who wears many hats as the Assistant Director, Pearl Programs Coordinator, and Pearl Faith Coordinator for Lynham River Now. And she will be monitoring the questions today. And also would like to thank Emily Botsford Hatfield for our Information Systems Coordinator, who will be making the seamless transitions for us today. And I'm Vince Bowers, the Pearl Business Coordinator for Lynham River Now. Starting the batting order today with our federal programs, we're privileged to have Jerry Lawson, the National Manager of the Energy Star Business and Congregation Program for the Environmental Protection Agency. Jerry was originally recruited by EPA from the utility industry to help develop a voluntary market-based approach for preventing pollution. Before joining the EPA, he served as Executive Director for Conservation, Customer Service, Rates and Forecasting at the Lower Colorado River Authority, which provided electricity to municipalities and electric co-ops and water for agriculture in the 30,000 square mile service area surrounding Austin, Texas. Previously, Jerry was the director of the City of Austin Resource Management Department, which won national recognition for successfully substituting cost-effective energy efficiency upgrades in utility customer facilities to prevent the need for a new 500 megawatt coal-fired power plant. Prior to working in Austin, he was the Deputy Director for Conservation and Renewable Resources at the Arkansas Department of Energy. Jerry has a master's degree of public affairs degree, a master's of public affairs degree from Arizona State University and a BA degree from the University of Arkansas. On deck We have Chelsea Harnish, the Executive Director of the Virginia Energy Efficiency Council. Chelsea oversees all council operations and strategic initiatives, including programs, policy, communications, membership, and events. With over a decade of Virginia energy policy experience, Chelsea has regularly engages decision makers, partners, and members to advance energy efficiency policies and programs that will help grow the industry throughout the Commonwealth. Prior to joining the VAEEC, Chelsea worked for several environmental nonprofits, honing her skills in campaign planning, communications, and advocating for clean energy policy initiatives. Chelsea has received her bachelor's degree in biology from the University of South Carolina and her master's degree in marine science from Boston University. And batting cleanup is Chris Rawlings, founder and Chief Efficiency Officer for Veteran LED. Chris is a former Marine Corps sergeant and a 5-year Iraqi War veteran. After his deployment, he joined the United States Marine Corps Airspeed Team, implementing Lean Six Sigma methodologies across aviation work centers in efforts to increase production, lower costs, and improve overall mission capability and readiness. This is where he was first introduced to the overhead costs of utilities and tasked with ways to lower usage and improve building environments. Chris now manages Veteran LED's day-to-day operations and performs commercial and industrial energy audits, research and development on emerging technologies, and builds long-lasting relationships with industry peers. Prior to founding Veteran LED, he worked government contracting with QuipTech and was a contractor with the Army with Northrop Grumman at Joint Base Langley Eustis in Newport News, where he supported multiple units troubleshooting aircraft systems, designing training aids, supporting research and development efforts, and implementing lean strategies. Chris attended Florida State University, is a member of the Association of Energy Engineers, is a certified energy manager, and hosts a monthly podcast called Energy Sense, which explores trends, ideas, and changes in the world of energy. Now over to you, Jerry.
Okay, let's get these slides going. I'm going to talk today about resources available through Energy Star. While these are focused basically on small businesses and religious congregations, there's a huge amount available to any type of business or organization, schools, hospitals at energystar.gov. But we'll focus on sort of some local organizations. First, we have action workbooks. These are 70 to 90 page how-to workbooks, one for small business, one for congregations, with trade associations like the National Association of Convenience Stores, National Association of Automobile Dealers. We have customized workbooks especially for those industries, and we continue to do this with other industries. I'll show you a web page called Bring Your Green to Work, which is designed to help organizations engage and educate their employees. We also have treasure maps. We, for a couple of years, have operated treasure hunt campaigns, which we learned from private industry, starting with Nissan and Lockheed Martin, Staples, Colgate-Palmolive, others. The idea behind a treasure map is to get the non-experts involved, the people in the warehouse or sales, marketing, accounting, turn them loose with a comprehensive checklist, let them see what they can find. And what has been a surprise dating back to the industrial start of treasure hunting is that typically 10–15% more savings are found even after a professional energy audit and an upgrade. We believe strongly in friendly competitions. Therefore, we have a a 20-page competitions guide I'll show you. You can download that. We have several web pages of competitions resources. There are action kits that you can co-brand with your logo for use locally. And then our big tool, Portfolio Manager. More than 300,000 commercial buildings are benchmarking energy, water, and solid waste and recycling in Portfolio Manager. It's a free online tool backed by a very robust training center. It's all free. You don't have to be an Energy Star partner, but we encourage that. So let's go to it and look at some of these. First of all, important to everyone to know that Energy Star realizes different properties use energy quite differently. On the far left here with the highest energy use is a quick service restaurant, followed next by a convenience store. Thirdly, supermarkets and grocery stores, then down to a full service restaurant. Then you get a big drop when you look at hotels and motels, offices, automobile dealerships, and general retail. This slide is all about business. It doesn't show worship facilities, but they're on the very low end as well with general retail. Typically on these slides, you'll see a URL address where you can go learn more once you have this slide set. Here's some different covers of the action workbook. In the middle, we're so proud this week, the very first state is Virginia. The Department of Environmental Quality has co-branded with their own cover the action workbook for small business. You'll also, maybe you can recognize the logo for Virginia Green there. These action workbooks have worksheets, checklists. They talk about how to finance, how to work with contractors, talk about different types of equipment. And within a given small business workbook, there are special sections for restaurants, offices, hotels, motels, tenants. And as I said, we've developed special editions of the workbook for convenience stores and vehicle dealerships so far. Now, any government agency, a city, utility, business association, or other nonprofit can co-brand with your cover image. On the upper right, you see an image for the congregations workbook of the Tennessee Valley Authority. And below that is our standard cover for congregations. So we're very enthused about the co-branding idea. We have taken this also to treasure maps. I'll show you some of that. The treasure hunt at energystar.gov/treasure hunt. This can be a comprehensive campaign, or you can just download the treasure map for your facility type because it's a great standalone tool. Here on the right, you see some of the treasure maps available to the hospitality industry, convenience stores, hotels, motels, microbreweries, offices, restaurants, retail, other commercial facilities, and worship facilities. On the lower right here, you'll see an example of a preloaded spreadsheet if you want to track your progress in a treasure hunt. The one idea of treasure hunts is to do them competitively, in which a host organization, be it a city, a county, a utility, a trade group, can host a treasure hunt. We have all types of supporting resources for that. We understand with COVID-19, there's some real limitations. I'm working with a number of congregations and convenience stores on how to do a treasure hunt during COVID-19. Basically, you're looking at limiting to 1 or 2 people who are wearing masks, hopefully carrying a smartphone or a tablet so that they can share visually the walkthrough. Here are some of the resources available for COVID-19. At EPA, we have the list of disinfectants. We have a general website, and we have special information on restarting a building that's been closed for a while to minimize water stagnation. This, in the center, you see NACS, that's the National Association of Convenience Stores. That's a demonstration of co-branding any of these 16 or so treasure maps, same as we can co-brand the cover of the action workbooks. In fact, we just today were exchanging email with Virginia DEQ on co-branding a number of treasure maps. This for the restaurants and the hotels, perhaps with food service, congregations that have a kitchen. We have a complete guide for commercial kitchens. That's a download from energystar.gov/products, where you can find commercial food service equipment. Here's a shot. I know you can't read, but it's just to show you the products page. We have dozens and dozens of Energy Star labeled products. We achieve this through negotiating with manufacturers to achieve a percentage reduction in a specific type of product. You'll see here in red the rebate finder. This is one way to reduce your cost. We keep up with rebates, whether they're from utilities or from manufacturers or even retailers. You can also see all types of information, videos, podcasts, calculators, and FAQs on products. Two things represented here on the left is, as I mentioned earlier, the Bring Your Green to Work webpage, energystar.gov/work, a green team checklist, posters, tip cards, all kinds of information, a PowerPoint slideshow that you can use for a lunch and learn, and best practices for getting your occupants engaged. On the right is the cover of the competitions guide, found for download at energystar.gov/guide. Okay, the big gun for us is Portfolio Manager. As I said, more than 300,000 buildings using it. More than 35,000 have earned Energy Star certification, meaning their building through Portfolio Manager has achieved the upper quartile or the upper 25% of national energy efficiency for their facility type. It's free, it's online. We have all types of training and tech support to support you in your use of Portfolio Manager. This is the representation of the training center. We do weekly live webinars. They're all recorded for 24/7 access. You don't have to be an Energy Star partner. There are YouTube videos for how to use Portfolio Manager. I particularly like the PDF guides you can download and print or just save on your computer. They give you 1, 2, 3, 4. Here are the steps for different aspects, whether it's entering utility data or sharing your account with others. You would have a password protected account. EPA doesn't see your data. We're not interested. We just want you to achieve your savings. I would urge you to start on November 4th. We have a live Portfolio Manager 101 training. It's an hour, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Before that, you might want to go online and download the data collection worksheet. That will show you everything you need to benchmark your type of facility, whether it's a restaurant or an auto dealer or a church. The help desk is highly rated. We get over 90% very positive ratings from users of the Energy Star help desk, available at this link. You can use an online form, send us questions. It doesn't have to be about Portfolio Manager or even Energy Star. We know a lot about energy and water and are happy to do research. And then this training page URL is shown here as well. In Portfolio Manager, what's it doing? It's going to measure and score your entire building with regard to energy on a 1 to 100 scale. It's going to do a couple of things with your zip code. Very importantly, it's going to do weather normalization. That is, it will factor out extreme weather so that what is being measured is the actual energy efficiency of your building without regard to extreme weather, of which we are having so much these days. The other thing it will do with your zip code is look at the emissions factor, that is the pollution per kilowatt hour of the utility serving your zip code. It will multiply that number by your kilowatt hours and will enable you to have an accurate count really of the pollution, the greenhouse gas emissions for your building. Month by month, as you become more efficient, you'll see that number change. Portfolio Manager and Energy Star work very closely with our sister program, WaterSense at EPA. So water use is integrated into Portfolio Manager. You can account for your water use intensity, essentially water use per square foot for your facility type. You can track your waste and materials. A waste intensity number can be generated, as well as recycling. The Energy Star score I've mentioned, and your greenhouse gas emissions can be calculated and will change over time. Another aspect of Portfolio Manager is that you can share your data with others in your organization. We believe strongly in recognition. That's why we do a certification nationally. On the right, you see a certification decal from last year. I might mention, going forward, we will probably be using 2019 data throughout 2021 due to the extremes of pandemic, its impact on different facilities. That may not be a universal decision. It may depend on the facility type and what has been going on in that industry, but we are keeping up with this and we'll work with all of our users to be sure that you're getting accurate scoring. Recognition, whether you achieve the Energy Star certification or not, we work with trade associations that do their own recognition, or utilities. Based on Portfolio Manager scoring, if you take an initial 15 or 20 to a 35 or a 50, that's significant. It could be that your organization should be recognizing that and recognizing your green team, your facility manager, your contractors for what you've achieved. With new construction, we have designed to earn the Energy Star. Your architect can work with our architect on new construction, and we just have a number of challenges going all the time. So I welcome your emails anytime. That's really the best way to always catch me. And EnergyStar.gov Small Biz is the homepage for small business. You left off EnergyStar.gov/congregations for worship facilities. So I'll look forward to the question and answer period, and thank everyone for your time.
Thank you, Jerry. And next we'll have Chelsea.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you this morning. I'll be discussing two opportunities relevant to Virginia businesses who are interested in pursuing energy efficiency upgrades. First, as Vince has already mentioned, the Virginia Clean Economy Act, which is a law that was passed earlier this year. I'll go into the opportunities that are afforded to us by that law, as well as local government financing program called Commercial Property Cess Clean Energy, otherwise known as CPACE. Next slide. So first, for many of you on the call, well, first, actually, I apologize. Let me go back. We can stay on that slide. The Virginia Clean Economy Act, or the VCEA, requires Virginia investor-owned electric utilities to go carbon-free as early as 2045. The VCEA sets various goals for solar, wind, and battery storage, in addition to establishing an energy efficiency resource standard. So for those of you on the call, the webinar today, you might be wondering, what is an energy efficiency resource standard? And this is a definition that came to us from the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, or ACEEE, which is a think tank and analysis group based in DC. So according to them, an energy efficiency resource standard is a quantitative long-term energy savings target for utilities under direction from the VCA, utilities must procure a percentage of their future energy needs using energy efficiency measures typically equal to a specific percentage of their load or projected load growth. So what does that mean? Next slide. In the Virginia Clean Economy Act, oh, I apologize, it looks like there's some formatting issues at the bottom. But according to the Virginia Clean Economy Act, Dominion and Appalachian Power Company, the two investor-owned utilities here in Virginia, must meet specific targets for savings each year from 2022 to 2025. So for in 2025, for Dominion Energy, it's 5%, and for Appalachian Power Company, it's 2%. These are very geographically different investor-owned utilities, and with Dominion being larger, that is why their goal is larger. So what this, in other words, what we're saying is that by 2025, 5% of the electricity generated by Dominion, it needs to be reduced, and they'll be achieving that by utility-sponsored energy efficiency programs. So next slide. This graph also came to us from ACEEE. While energy efficiency is considered one of the 4 pillars of the Virginia Clean Economy Act, I argue that as the cheapest resource, it's actually the foundation for which everything else sits upon. Strong energy efficiency goals are critical to ensuring the transition to a 100% clean energy future, that it remains inexpensive and equitable. So this figure is a model scenario. It's again, it's created by the International Energy Agency and adapted by ACEEE, in which the global increase in temperature is limited to 2 degrees Celsius. In this model, energy efficiency from all sectors accounts for nearly half of all greenhouse gas emission reductions. And while this is a modeled scenario, we are seeing this in real life as well. In 2018, energy efficiency was the largest brake on global emissions growth. Next slide. As diverse portfolios of energy efficiency programs will be even more crucial to meeting large savings goals in later years, to that end, the VCA expands potential program participants in the commercial and industrial customer classes. Under the law, customers who use between 500 kW and 1 megawatt electricity annually can now participate in utility energy efficiency programs, whereas before, they were automatically opted out and could not participate in energy efficiency programs. These users may include office parks, restaurants, small retail spaces, or small breweries. So for these high energy users who use more than 1 megawatt of electricity, they will be allowed to opt out only if they are doing their own programs. Additionally, the VCA provides other business opportunities, such as requiring stakeholder participation in long-term planning in their goals in the utility goal setting, and compelling utilities to better target and diversify their energy program portfolios among their various customer classes. Additionally, the very last bullet, there's also an ability for utilities to test advanced technologies and new innovations as pilot programs that are already designated in the public interest, which will help them expand their goals and achieve their energy efficiency savings targets in later years. Next slide. Now I'm going to move into what we call Commercial Property Sus Clean Energy, or CPACE. CPACE is a financing option that provides affordable long-term financing to commercial property owners to pay for energy efficiency, water conservation, and on-site renewable energy and resiliency upgrades. Commercial property owners receive 100% market-based financing from private capital providers for these upgrades with no upfront costs, and they make the repayments through your property tax bill. Now, there are also financing options for residential properties in other states, but here in Virginia, we only have PACE for commercial properties. Next slide. Measures that can be upgraded include HVAC systems, boilers and furnaces, lighting, building energy management controls, building envelope improvements, windows, energy storage, and much more, again, including solar energy, water conservation, and anything related to resiliency, which obviously is of great importance to businesses in the Virginia Beach area. And there are currently a number of Virginia localities that have launched CPACE programs, including Arlington, Fredericksburg, and Fairfax, as well as Loudoun and recently Roanoke. We do, with a law that was passed earlier this year, the State Energy Office of the Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy will be establishing a statewide PACE administrator program, which will be housed within the State Energy Office. We do know that there are some localities, such as the city of Richmond, that are very interested in taking advantage of this statewide program because it helps reduce their overhead cost of establishing the program on their own. So I imagine that when this program is launched in early next year, we will see a greater interest from localities, perhaps some in the Hampton Roads area, once the statewide administrative program is launched. And so you can learn more about these issues, all the things I mentioned today, on our website under programs. And to learn more, our website is vaeec.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chelsea. And now batting cleanup, as promised, Chris Rawlings.
Hey, Vince. Thank you, Lynn Haven River Now, for having me this morning. And thank you, everyone who's joining us today. I really appreciate it. Jerry, Chelsea, I hope you don't mind. I'm probably going to re-mention some of the amazing tools and things that you guys listed off. So thank you for everything that you've given us so far. Next slide. So I'll forego the lengthy introduction. Vince did that for me this morning. Thank you, Vince. But as he said, I'm Chris Rawlings, founder and CEO of Veteran LED. We are a energy services and lighting company. So we started doing LED lighting retrofits about 6 years ago, and we've grown into doing energy management projects, over 250 nationally over the last 6 years, looking at everything from energy efficiency to metering and monitoring, and even renewable options, and facilitating utility programs such as demand response, and even doing some energy procurement. You might recognize some of the folks on the right there. If you're in the Tidewater region, we've done quite a few projects down there, and hopefully we'll continue to get some more done. Next slide. So what is an energy audit? An energy audit is a process in which a team of energy engineers, contractors, and consultants inspect the buildings and the process behind a company managing energy, quite simply. Just understanding the entire cycle of that energy through generation to transmission to monitoring and metering, and then recommending energy conservation measures on the demand side. Next slide. So what type of energy audits are there? So mostly what you'll see out there, you know, in kind of our world is all ASHRAE. So ASHRAE is the industry that kind of, you know, gives us guidance. They have 3 different levels of energy audits. But the first energy audit I think every business can do is just do a self-assessment. Look at the people that you have on your team, and just start getting together and coming up with ideas on a plan of reducing your energy usage. Gather those documents, begin that planning. It's probably part of your job somewhere down the line anyway. So do that self-assessment first. The next step might be what we call a field grade energy audit. If you go back real quick, Emily, sorry. A field grade energy audit is when you know, you engage a contractor or a vendor to either give you a consultation over the phone or come out and just do a quick walkthrough, point out some immediate things that need to be taken care of. And usually there's not much upfront cost, if any, with that. It's just costs you a little bit more time. You have to engage these folks and start to come up with ideas on your next steps. And then again, ASHRAE level 1, 2, and 3, that's going to go from, understanding energy conservation measures to all the way to actually pricing out what each one of those measures would in fact cost you. Next slide. So what does the process look like? Well, it depends on your business, right? If you're a small business, 5,000 square feet, or if you're a 300,000 square foot distribution center, it really depends on the size of the business, geographic location, the operations of the business, and then engagement. The process is what you put into it. And, so to have that stakeholder engagement from the customer side, and now all that planning, that self-assessment that I talked about, that's really going to push forward what that process is actually going to look like for you. Next slide. So let's break it down kind of in general. So the 3 different energy audit approaches are really energy conservation, demand side management, and equipment replacement. We do have, renewable options and things that we do consider when we're on site and doing an energy audit. That is part of kind of the complete package. But the traditional energy audit process is we're going to consult with the stakeholders and understand the business's needs and understand the operations and what their goals are. Everything that they did in that self-assessment phase before they reached out to us. We really need to know who you are, understand who you are, and we can kind of start from there. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to review documents such as utility bills, as-built drawings. We're going to collect all the information that we can from the facility staff and the management remotely before we come on site. The next step is we're gonna schedule an on-site visit of the building during operating hours, so we can kind of consult with the folks that are working there. But then also maybe off hours as well. A lot of times as energy managers, when we do our audits, we often say that the building will talk to us at night if something's going wrong. So if there's a leak or if there's stuff that's still left on, we're going to be able to tell that in the off hours. A lot of times one of those first steps is just turning stuff off when you're not using it, right? So we might schedule that audit during off hours. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to coordinate with contractors and vendors to capture pricing and materials, pricing on materials and installation of energy conservation measures that we recommend. That's going to be for one of those ASHRAE level 2 or level 3 audits. We're kind of giving you that full encompassing energy management plan, and we're going to list out each one of those ECMs and then actually assign a price tag to it. So we're kind of quarterbacking the whole thing. We're taking the data, we're doing all the coordination, and then actually, assigning a dollar amount to what those are going to cost you. And finally, what we're going to do is we're going to build a custom energy management plan. We're going to assess the financial incentives that are out there. Chelsea brought up CPACE. There are utility energy efficiency rebate programs here in Virginia through Dominion. There's specific programs that may be specific to industrial facilities or small businesses. I know there's some new programs coming out next year. I believe there's 11 non-residential programs specifically. But there's a ton of information out there. There's USDA REAP grants. There's demand response programs at the regional PJM level. So really looking at each property, coming up with that report to not only give you a price tag on the energy conservation measures, but also find out a way that we can actually get this stuff done. Because a lot of the times the buck stops there. They're just like, I don't have the money. I need to figure out how to finance it. I need to figure out how to, maybe there's a performance contracting option. But it's that custom energy management report that is the golden ticket from this energy audit process. Next slide. So what does an energy audit produce? So I just kind of touched on that a little bit, right? So it produces an energy management plan with actionable data. That is the most important thing that comes out of an energy audit. And so, actionable data and accurate data. Next slide. So again, we're going to list out those energy conservation measures, and we're going to do it based on the consultation that we did with you in the beginning, understanding what's most important to you and understanding your goals. Yes, we can look at it through the lens of just strictly a cost perspective. Maybe LED lighting is the first thing you need. Maybe a rate analysis or an adjustment of just your electric supply or natural gas supply. Maybe it's retro commissioning your HVAC systems, meaning you're upgrading it, putting in variable frequency drives, or updating your filtration, or maybe monitoring. We're also looking at water conservation. Jerry talked about WaterSense, great program. Water conservation is encompassed in this as well. Motors and drives and steam and air, a lot of those are applicable to more of your large commercial or industrial customers. And then again, we're going to look at your solar plus storage options and renewable clean options as well, and many, many more. Next slide. But again, going back to it, when we look at our process internally and we look at what are the most important things in regards to an energy audit, it's getting accurate data up front so we can provide you accurate financial data on the back end, not just assuming your kilowatt hour rate is this, or assuming your hours of operation. We want to be as accurate as possible, and we're very transparent with folks up front about providing us as much information as the information that we need to make sure that we can be accurate with that reporting. Next slide. So Jerry, I'm excited that you brought up Energy Star Portfolio Manager. I've been working with it for a few years. I'm no expert by any means, but looking at the energy use index and energy cost index of these buildings and utilizing programs like the Energy Star Portfolio Manager is amazing. It's probably one of the largest benefits that, or one of the largest tools that we have, on our side that helps us do our job better. Part of what we do, especially with small businesses, is we actually train them to use these programs on their own because they are free of charge. And that's something that if you have someone on your staff that can get trained to use these tools, you're going to be able to find out a lot of cool things about your building. And again, it's going to give you that actionable data that you need. One of the main things is you can look at that internal performance. What does your energy profile look like based on the profile of your building from the previous year, or the year before that, or the year before that? Have you taken into account different operational changes, COVID, crazy, changes throughout the operations that may have impacted that? But you're going to look at that, how you rank to your internal performance. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your external performance. How do you stack up against your competition, or what does your energy profile look like compared to other similar buildings in and around the same space? And Portfolio Manager is one of the great tools that can help you do that. And then we're going to create an action plan for your underperforming buildings in your portfolio. So say you're a property owner, you have 15 buildings in Virginia Beach. Like, hey, I know I need to start somewhere. Where do I start? Really looking at the entire portfolio and doing these benchmarking and scoring studies. That's really going to tell you exactly where your biggest pain points are and where the biggest improvement, biggest possibility for improvement you may have at each facility. Next slide. Another big thing I like to talk about is the incentives, the grants, the rebates. There's everything from the 179D, green energy tax deductions. There's CPACE. Again, there's utility energy efficiency programs. There's all kinds of incentives out there, and so it can be hard to kind of navigate all of that. And so that's another one of the things that we bring to the table, is helping you navigate those and giving you the most cost-effective solution. In fact, we've captured over $2 million in utility rebates nationally for our clients. That's going to include tax deductions and incentives, USDA REAP grants, all kinds of different things. All states are different on how they go about administering these programs. So consult with somebody that has the experience, because it can be a bit of a headache. Next slide. And again, finally, we're going to give you a lot of resources in this report. It's not just about, giving you, a line item of saying, hey, pick this and spend a bunch of money with us. It's saying, hey, here's the resources. Here's what we use. Here's what's available. Here's the data that we put out, whether it's webinars or podcasts or, ASHRAE reports. Obviously, COVID-19 is a huge thing right now. A lot of people are reaching out to us. What can you do about indoor air quality? Well, how does your system work right now? Have you looked at, have you consulted with mechanical contractors or engineers? And what kind of information have they put out about their products? So we're going to give you a lot of resources so that you can kind of be equipped with that knowledge as well. Next slide. And finally, how do we create action? Well, first we need to talk to people around us about energy and the impact of energy efficiency, and then develop goals. We need to engage professionals to help us execute and meet those goals. And we also need to stay engaged and committed to continuing efforts. Webinars like this and groups like Lynnhaven River Now, the Virginia Energy Efficiency Council, ACEEE, I could go on and on, but it's events like this, and it's people reaching out into the community and reaching out to people around them to talk about energy and environment, and how important it is to meet our goals. That's how we're going to create action out of this. And finally, go download the Energy Sense podcast right now. Thank you for that selfish plug, Lynnhaven River Now. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to the questions and answers section.
Thank you, Chris. So Helen, if you're there,
I am here.
what kind of questions do we have?
Well, the first question we have is for Chelsea. Chelsea, are you with us?
I'm here.
Okay, Chelsea. Frank wants to know regarding the chart that you showed showing the legal requirement for Dominion Power to reduce power generation by 5% by 2025. Is that regardless of the population and or business growth in the area? And if so, does that mean that there will be less power generated than there is a need for?
So it is based on 2019 retail sales. So whatever their retail sales were for 2019, that is what the 5% savings is based on, or 5% in 2025. It's lower in leading up to 2025. And so, yes, the theory is that energy efficiency should be considered a resource meaning a fossil fuel plant, a solar project, an offshore wind project. But energy efficiency, when done in a large across the grid way, should be considered as an additional resource, particularly since it is, again, as I mentioned, the lowest, cheapest, and carbon-free resource that we have. So yes, that it absolutely should mean less generation needed in the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chelsea. Jerry, the next question is for you. Can you please explain more about the co-branding opportunities with your publications, i.e. cost and the number of publications required and that sort of thing?
Yes, basically, of course, it would be free. These are all federal resources. The only limitation is we co-brand with organizations, not like with an individual business or an individual congregation. We co-branded with, Interfaith Power and Light, and the Catholic Conference on Facility Management, and like I said, Virginia DEQ, and other trade organizations. So that's the only limitation. But you can go to either homepage, energystar.gov/smallbiz, SMALLBIZ, or /congregations. And both of them at the bottom of the page show a number of sample action workbook covers. And there is a PDF you can download on co-branding. I'd be very happy for anyone interested to email me. I can send you the PDF and have a email conversation with you. We would need from you images for the cover, any type of information you would like on the inside cover, and ideally a letter on letterhead from your CEO that we could install as well. So just follow up with me if you're interested. We do the same on the treasure maps for the 16 type of businesses or organizations. We simply put the organizational logo on every page. That's the extent co-branding there.
All right, thank you. All right, I don't see any more questions. Are there any more questions out there for our panelists?
I certainly have a couple. One, so Chelsea, you mentioned that CPACE is going to be expanded to the state level. I was wondering, are there any other new energy efficiency programs or incentives that you know of stemming from either the Virginia Clean Energy Act or any other recent changes like the RGGI? Are those going to be bringing expanded energy efficiency programs?
Yeah, Vince, that's a great question. So on the VCA, as Chris has mentioned, a couple of different utility programs. In order to meet those targets in later years, the utilities will need to expand their utility program offerings. We do know that both Dominion and APCO both will be filing new programs in November and December of this year. And we do know that in APCO territory, there's 2 brand new business programs that they will be launching in addition to several other residential programs. And in Dominion, it will be they have a variety of programs. I think they have like 10 to 15 new programs combined, which both residential and commercial. So, and we will continue to see this. So there will be continued new program offerings as the utilities are trying to meet these goals that are in the Clean Economy Act. On the RGGI money, for those that don't know, 50% when Virginia joins the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or RGGI, 50% of the revenues allocated, or 50% of the revenues from the carbon trading, from the auctions that will take place, 50% of those revenues will go towards low income energy efficiency. We understand that Department of Housing and Community Development will be initiating a stakeholder process. We hear December is the time frame for them to launching that stakeholder process to help them determine how those funds should be allocated. What we're hearing from them, obviously, will all be low-income energy efficiency, but I think some of the options on the table are health and safety dollars to complement the federal weatherization program that they run, which is for low-income housing, tax credit for new low-income affordable housing, and then also additional funding for upgrading or providing brand new public housing. So those are the 3 areas or options that we've heard about. I'm sure those will all be hashed out and discussed during those stakeholder processes. 2 other energy efficiency related laws that passed, unfortunately, neither have to do with commercial buildings, but one is on-bill financing or an on-bill tariff in the electric cooperatives. So all of Virginia's electric cooperatives can now, it's enabling legislation to allow them to establish on-bill tariff program. It acts very much like a CPACE financing program where the payment is tacked onto a bill. In this case, it's your electric bill for the co-op. Co-ops plan on establishing a stakeholder process for that in early 2021. That will be a residential. I do not think it'll be commercial. They might expand it, but I think from the start, it's going to be a residential program. And then finally, there was a law that passed that by 2025, all public buildings owned or rented by the state or all of the various state agencies will be benchmarked. And benchmarking is, they probably use Energy Portfolio Manager, which Jerry mentioned. It's just collecting the energy data from those buildings. We know that once you know better, you do better. And so while you don't really necessarily see direct energy savings from benchmarking, what typically happens is when you are collecting your energy data and you realize that there's more that can be done, that's where we start to see indirect energy savings from entities that are benchmarking their energy data.
Thank you.
We have another question in the question box. The question is, what are the resources or providers for home energy audits in Tidewater?
So I don't know the specific contractors working in the Tidewater area, but Dominion does have a home energy assessment program. So if you go to Dominion's website, they actually do have an energy efficiency page. So I think if you actually could Google Dominion energy efficiency, it'll probably pop up. But they do have, well, for your home, that's a home energy assessment program, but they do have several commercial programs. Chris, can you speak to the commercial programs a little bit and which one maybe has an energy audit on that side?
Yeah, so on the commercial side for energy audits, some of those programs are ending at the end of this year. And again, they're starting those new programs next year. So I don't know a specific one for Dominion on the commercial side, just for getting an energy audit done. But I could be wrong. Again, the programs are changing next year. So I don't have that list of those 11 non-residential programs in front of me. I do know up in, I'm sorry, in some other states, they do have specific programs just for getting energy audits where they help offset those costs.
Well, I can add on that I know of one program in Virginia Beach, which is Lynn River now has a program for our pro-businesses and pro-faith organizations that we will arrange for and pay for an energy audit for businesses. And you can have someone like Chris come down and give you that thorough look and present you with that data, and Lynn River now will coordinate that.
Oh, that's terrific.
But that's not for homes, that's for businesses and faith communities.
Correct.
Right.
That's terrific. I would just, to what Chris was saying, so Dominion, as a caveat to my original comment, programs that you see on Dominion's energy efficiency page today will change over in January. So if the programs that you see don't meet your needs, then check back in January or February, definitely sometime in Q1, and you will see a new suite of program options.
Okay, I guess maybe I get a chance to ask another question, unless Helen, did you have any? So are you finding that there's enough funding for the programs, or is it something where the dollars run out pretty quick and you got to be fast to get your requests in?
I guess I can speak to that a little bit. Chelsea may be able to help me out. The programs, there was, I believe it was last year, there was some programs that were not funded, that were funded from the years before. And a lot of that had to do with basically legislation and all of the hard work that Chelsea and all these other groups have been doing to get done. But as of now, with Dominion, Dominion specifically committed, I believe, $836 million over the next 10 years or something towards energy efficiency programs. And so I think that the funding, at least for the foreseeable future for these programs, is going to be decently robust and at least a little bit more consistent than they've been over the last few years. Now, as far as which programs are going to run out of money the fastest or potentially, I would say the lighting program is probably the most active program on the demand side management energy efficiency programs. I know in years past, it's been duct seal and testing was a big program where, funds were depleted pretty quickly. But, I think the call to action, Vince, is businesses are losing money and losing out on the chance to reduce their environmental impact every day that they don't do something. And so I think these incentives are great, right? It's icing on the cake, it's a cherry on top, what have you. But the action should be based on the guilt that they feel every day for not doing anything.
Yeah, I would just add to that so yeah, Dominion committed in 2018. They committed to spending $870 million over a 10-year period through 2028. However, a savings target is really more effective than a spending target. You know, an analogy that I like to use is you could be looking for an item and you go to a bunch of different stores and each store could have a different price. The same exact item, but obviously you're paying more overhead in one store with the store with the higher price. So we like to see savings targets, which are what we established in the Clean Economy Act, because that guarantees that they're more focused on bringing and providing more savings to their customer than just spending money. Because if you're spending money, you could spend the same amount on a really great program that's producing great savings, or you could be spending that same exact money on a program that's dismal and has a ton of overhead and isn't producing the results that you want. So again, that's why a savings target is much more effective in trying to achieve energy savings goals. And so my understanding is Dominion is still committed to spending their $870 million, but quite frankly, they need to spend more than that in order to meet the 2025 goal.
Okay, we have another question in the question box, and I apologize for the noise behind me. My dogs are starting to mutiny. This is for Chris. The question is, do you have any examples of when a company hits a break-even point after an energy audit and then implements a plan?
So do I have an example of where a company hits a break-even point in regards to the investment?
Yeah, after they've had an energy audit and then implements their plan.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of examples. I would say most commonly in what we've done in the projects that we've done is a company hits their break-even goal after, you know, they invest a little bit on the front end to get the audit done and do the assessment and get the report. But a lot of times the next step is we're just optimizing the existing systems that they have and implementing controls, turning stuff off when people aren't there. Shutting down the HVAC system at the right time, turning on and off the lights at the right time. So these are low cost, no cost energy conservation measures that you can implement, and you can get a list of those pretty easily. Again, either by doing that self-assessment, getting a field grade audit, or getting something more in depth. So there's a ton of ECMs that I implement all the time that have a 2, 3, 4, 5-month payback. It just depends on, you know, again, looking at the portfolio of properties and looking at, you know, where's the biggest opportunity for savings. So yeah, we want to list out those conservation measures that are going to make the largest impact and have the lowest cost, you know, in order. And so that's why the importance of kind of getting that plan together and listing it. We want to get you back to a break-even point as quick as possible.
All right, maybe I'll ask one more question. Jerry, you mentioned the water stagnation issue when reopening after the shutdown, which I never would have thought of that. What other kind of COVID adaptations are you seeing? And this is for any of the panelists, but what kind of impacts is COVID having on energy efficiency programs, and what kind of adaptations are being made?
Unmute, Jerry.
Thank you.
Still on mute. There we go.
There we go. One of the things we're seeing is kind of obvious, but if you're not dealing with portfolio manager, is that the number of organizations and buildings that have been semi-vacant, or like hotels or restaurants, those that have really been underactive, just not able in this pandemic to pursue their normal economic activity, simply won't have a 2020 database really to work from. So I think we're all pretty comfortable that 2019 is really the last good year for now. We'll have to see how 2021 emerges. So people are seeing, these real anomalies in their scoring and the way portfolio managers working for them. So that's very real, just in the context of portfolio manager. Otherwise, I really don't have a lot of insight myself. I mean, I'm in constant contact with these industries. We do have other resources online at our COVID-19 website. And there are at least one webinar at our training center. So you could go look to the training center, and there are 1 or 2 webinars on COVID-19. And there's some good resources out there. If anyone wants to email me, I think there's another one I didn't show that is from the International Building Management Association, something like that. It's not BOMA, but there's another building association, and it's very good. So that's, in fact, Vince, I could send that to you all.
Yeah, Vince, I'll touch a little bit on, kind of the impact that we're seeing with COVID-19 and these building owners, and maybe some of the steps that we're seeing them take. A few months ago, we had numerous projects in the pipeline for energy efficiency. COVID struck, and I would say 80% of those projects completely got put on hold. But the good thing is that our customers reached out and said, what can you do to help us, in this time of COVID? And a lot of it is obviously, most of it, in fact, is focused on indoor air quality, focused on the HVAC system and the operation of it. As businesses started opening back up or incorporating certain protocols and procedures and practices within their buildings, the building systems needed to adapt. Other practices needed to be applied. So, in looking at the ventilation, looking at filtration, looking at some technologies that have been used for sometimes over 100 years, like UVC lighting, germicidal lighting, looking at, air purifiers. There's a whole suite of things, and I think each business. I think I've told everyone this on a lot of podcasts, and I've posted a lot of webinars as well, and put a lot of information out there. COVID-19 has created a spectrum, and to the left of the spectrum, you have people that think it's a conspiracy. To the right of the spectrum, you have people that think that they should live in a bubble every single day for the rest of their life. Everyone falls somewhere on that spectrum. Every person, every business's culture, all of their clients that visit that business fall somewhere on that spectrum. So it's really just trying to understand the business and where they are in regards to kind of the importance that they're putting on this. You have some businesses that, we've recently worked with Silver Diner. We did 20 locations across the U.S. implementing germicidal UV lighting, air purification, filtration, ventilation, all these things I talked about, because over 60% of their clients are of elderly age. These are the people that are most susceptible to COVID-19. So they showed immediate action. They wanted it done very quickly. They wanted to get the message out to their clients that they had done anything and everything that they can to make that experience at their restaurant safe. I will say there are a lot of people. There are a lot of products specifically that are out there right now that you really need to do your homework. ASHRAE has an epidemic task force that they've compiled together. Dr. William Banfleth is a huge source of information for HVAC. I think it was Raymond Padilla just put out a report in USA Today that showed, some easy steps that people can take in regards to ventilation and filtration, and just kind of laying it all out about the science and what's out there and what's available. There's a lot that people can do, but they really need to understand their customers and their business and the way that their building operates, and start to do the research and engage folks out there. But it's going to be different for everyone because everyone's reacted to this situation differently.
Yeah, I can also add to that. So for the utility programs, both of the utilities, APCO and Dominion Energy, shut down their programs pretty early on in the pandemic. They reopened their commercial programs pretty quickly. Obviously, since everyone was working from home, they saw it as an opportunity that they could reopen those programs. All of their programs are now currently open and running, but it did take some time. I think they opened single-family residential programs over the summer, and then they opened multifamily residential, which is a low-income program, in September, I believe. So now all of them are open. It took some time for the contractors and the weatherization network for the low-income programs to really develop their own protocols and have PPP on site for their staff. So all of them are up and running, but the numbers for program participants and energy savings will be lower this year because there were several months, and in the case of multifamily low-income, at least 6 months that they were not up and running. So we will see lower savings numbers because of it. One interesting thing to note in terms of electricity use that I've been hearing is that electricity use is not going to be a big difference. It seems like it's going to be pretty leveled out. I think with commercial and public buildings being shuttered and everyone working from home, it just seems that there isn't going to be a big change in electricity use nationally, one way or the other. I've gotten questions both ways, actually. Oh, well, we have more energy use because everyone's working from home, or oh, well, we have less energy use because we're not needing to heat and cool large public spaces. And so it does seem like it is evening out from what experts are saying. The other piece that I wanted to mention is VAC. We actually are putting together a 3-part series on energy efficiency and COVID. We have the first draft of our first blog post written, and I think that'll get posted next week. But we're talking about some of the exciting innovation and technologies that some of our members are doing, including Chris. Chris was interviewed for the blog post, so you will see him probably talking about the diners again, because it's one of the more interesting stories of COVID, I would say. But we're hearing from some of our other energy service companies about increasing heat at night to kill off the germs, and just some other activities that they are helping their clients with. So it is brand new world in some instances. We've been compiling resources on our website pretty much since March as well. So if commercial businesses, entities, if you own your own property or interested in learning more, we have those on our website as well.
Excellent, thank you. So, Helen, are there any more questions or?
No more questions, Vince.
Okay, and you've run out of Nyla bones for the dogs, so we probably. I thank you so much, Jerry, Chelsea, and Chris. That was amazing. I learned so much, and how the three of you work together, it just was perfect. So I know I said I only had one more question, that last question, But I do have one last question, but it's not for any of you. It's for the audience. And what I'd like to ask you is, will you please go to the lynnhavenrivernow.org website when we get the brief posted and share it with all the people that weren't able to make it today, all the businesses and congregations in Virginia Beach, to make sure that they get this valuable information. I would greatly appreciate that. With that, feel free to reach out to me or Helen if you have any other questions. And I would like to again thank Emily and Helen for making this go so smoothly. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Thank you, Vince, and to all the attendees.
Yeah, thank you, Vince, for
Yeah.
having us.
Thank you.